Hello, everyone. Welcome to Transform Now podcast. I'm Michael Marchuk.
And I'm Brad Hairston.
And this is our weekly pulse check on automation and AI news. Of course, as you all know, we have all the links for the articles that we'll be covering today in the show notes. So, Brad, I got 4 for you today. Well, 3 plus a bonus. All right, you ready?
Good. Let's go.
All right. First one comes from a LinkedIn article. It is news because of all the stuff that was provided by other interviews online. Sam Altman, who, as you may know, is the CEO of OpenAI, is predicting that the AGI, artificial general intelligence, will be achieved by 2025. And the last I checked, we are in November of 2024. So this means it's right around the corner, and then Skynet takes over, I think. At least that's what the narrative we're led to believe is. So tell me your thoughts on this article.
So supposedly we're at level 2 of AGI. There's 5 levels.
Is that kind of like DEF CON?
Yeah, it's like DEF CON 4 or whatever. We're at level 2, and this is according to OpenAI. So Sam Altman, I don't know, he woke up and felt aggressive, I guess, one day before he did this interview. But to say that we're going to increase 3 levels by next year, that's pretty ambitious. But it's not totally out of the realm of possibility when you think about just the pace of innovation. And they've been playing with this new Orion O1 model that has this higher level of reasoning. And I guess the article says they're making so much progress with that they really feel like this kind of drastic leap is possible. They've also added a team to focus on data labeling, which is the biggest hurdle for models of this size and scope. Just getting the right amount of data and getting it labeled and what have you, it can hold up any project in this space. So the combination of those things have led Altman to take this very optimistic position. I'm not terribly shocked by it. I think whether it happens next year or it takes a little bit more time, we've just every day we're surprised by something new that comes along and how fast this technology is evolving. So I'm not too shocked by it, and I guess I'm also somewhat comforted by a podcast interview that I did with this professor from SMU, Dr. Robert Hunt, and he made a great point in that podcast, which is we tend to measure everything, including humans, by the level of intelligence they have. But really, intelligence is not what makes us human. It is something that we care about and we measure and all that, but it's not what makes us human. There are many, many other qualities that make us human. So even if machines are going to reach and probably exceed our level of intelligence, that doesn't mean, humans are obsolete and humanity goes away. We still have a lot to offer, and there's qualities we have that are uniquely human that machines will never have, no matter how much intelligence they have. So it is impressive. It's a little daunting, and there's a part of you that can't help but be a little concerned about AI getting to that level so quickly. 2025, who would have thought it would happen that fast? But I think we'll be okay. I'm not worried about mushroom cloud explosions going off on the horizon or Skynet coming into existence. Not quite yet.
All right. Well, I'm glad that that's the case. And I'm also glad that intelligence is not the only measure of humanity, because if it was, I'd have to wonder how human I was then. You extrapolate that one out.
Of course.
Anyway, we've got our next one is from Harvard Business Review, talking about the labor market. And the article title is Research how Gen AI is already impacting the labor market. And based on some of their research, these are the kind of things that people start pointing to and say, see, we told you, right? Tell
Right.
us what you think.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting article. They analyzed 1.4 million job postings, and they took those jobs and they put them into three buckets: the manual jobs, the very automatable jobs like writing and coding and engineering, and then the jobs that relate to image generation, like high, graphic design, that kind of thing. And they looked at these postings from those three buckets and kind of what were the trends they saw. And interestingly, they saw that after the introduction of ChatGPT, there was a 21% decrease in the number of weekly posts in the automation prone jobs. Writing jobs were affected the most, 30% decrease. I thought about my son, who's a writer. Fortunately, he's a casual writer. He has a day job. He does writing as a hobby. He's not trying to make money with it. Followed by software development, web development, engineering. All of those saw significant decreases. They also noted that the demand in image generating jobs went significantly down. I think 17% down. So that was also impacted. This has intensified competition for the automation prone job category. They also noticed that. So the average number of bids rose for each job after ChatGPT came out. And then one other thing that was interesting, they found that after ChatGPT's launch, most of the job postings that are out there started having ChatGPT in the description. So it's factoring into the job descriptions. But they also found that the automation prone jobs have become slightly more complex. So they require a broader number of skills, and the pay is a little bit higher as well, but the skill requirements have gone up. So, take all that together. What does that say? Well, I don't think it's surprising. I think those jobs that are the most automation prone, we would expect those to be going down anyway. I think ChatGPT and Gen AI have had a bigger impact to them. These numbers all validate that. I don't think we can refute that or say that they're not accurate. I think what I'll point to, just to wrap up my thoughts, at the very end, they make a recommendation. This is Harvard Business Review, the authors. They say, for organizations to succeed, they must invest in developing a workforce capable of integrating AI into daily operations. The strategic focus should be on augmenting human potential rather than merely replacing it. I think that's really well said. I know you and I totally agree with that. And I was really glad to see that at the end. It wasn't 100% gloom and doom. I think they were just saying, look, this is a lot of research that says the labor market is being impacted. There are certain job categories that are being more significantly impacted, but we can survive it. We can course correct, and organizations can play a role in addressing it by reskilling, upskilling their workforce, and preparing for this. This is not something that we should be caught by surprise with. I mean, it's really been happening for some time. It's just been accelerated with Gen AI on the scene.
Yes, I agree. And before we get off of this article, I would recommend that anyone who has interest to go take a look at this, because I've also noticed, based on their points of reference that they put in terms of when image generation tools were released or when ChatGPT was released, they kept on pointing out on, well, after that happened, there was this much of a drop. But if you look at the charts, before that, there were a whole bunch of ups and downs that could be measured nearly the same velocity. So again, take it all with a grain of salt, but take a look at what these graphs show, and you'll probably see something that I saw too, which maybe it's not as gloomy as perhaps they meant it out to be, but the tools are changing, and they do change the way people work for sure.
Yeah.
talking about change the way people work and change the way industries operate. We'll go to our next one. Our next one, this is from Payments, which is a very difficult, PYMNTS.com payments website. And this article is entitled, Why Banks Might Want to Have a Blockchain Strategy. I know you and I have talked about this, and we've had other guests on our show to talk about this as well, in terms of the difficulties that cryptocurrencies and blockchain has been having, primarily because the institutions that currently leverage something other than blockchain were kind of slow to adopt, banking being one of them.
Yep.
But the tide may be turning. Tell us what you think.
Yeah, I mean, this one ties directly to the recent U.S. election. 50 of the 58 crypto-backed general election candidates, including president, won the election last week. And there's still some seats that are, I guess, being counted. Shocking that they still don't know, but there's still some seats that are not yet decided. But overwhelmingly, the crypto sector has taken what came out of the elections as a tailwind, pushing them in the direction of positivity around all things crypto, all things blockchain. Bitcoin, just to take one example, and you and I have been talking about this, Bitcoin, the price has gone up 23.5% in the last 5 days, 40% over the last month. So just one other kind of indicator that maybe this is a bit of a tipping point.
Yeah.
So the article
just
really
as a point of reference, just even
Yeah.
today, it was up over $93,000. So it's definitely, and before the election, it was in the 60-something thousand dollar range.
Yeah.
So this has been very substantial in terms of the way that cryptocurrencies have been viewed by those investors and others in the market.
Absolutely. So the article is a very timely one. It's asking the question, will this be enough to propel the banks to take this seriously and really embrace it? All the banks, especially the big banks, have been somewhat slow and guarded on how quickly they've adopted blockchain. Although there were two things cited in the article. UBS announced that they had created and piloted a digital cash product that they just released. It's a blockchain-based payment solution. And JP Morgan also came out just last week and announced a significant enhancement to its own blockchain platform. So no doubt they were doing that in response to what's been happening in the market. So, studies have been done. Payments, this news source that we're looking at, they did a study to show that, in their opinion, this is, if you decentralize finance using blockchain and other technologies like this, you could reduce transaction costs by up to 80%. And the studies have been done well beyond that to demonstrate some of the benefits of going with a blockchain distributed ledger technology, reducing fraud, increasing transparency, things like that. But all that's for naught if all the big players don't join the party and get on board. Will this be enough to finally push them in that direction? We'll have to watch and see.
It sounds like it's a tipping point, just based on some of the big boys and what they're doing right now.
Yeah, I hope so. I think there's a lot of efficiencies to be gained from it, and it's the kind of thing where everybody has to play for it to get the real value. If it's only 10 banks, it's not going to do any good. It's got to be, it's got to be the majority of the market.
If it's the top 10 banks globally, maybe all the rest will fall in line.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, our final bonus for the day is it's based on a short YouTube video that I stumbled across on a couple of guys who are doing some interesting work with their own chip making for building out what we consider the next Raspberry Pi. So if you're not familiar with this, Raspberry Pi is sort of a maker's kind of computer where for a lot of folks, it's very easy to build software to support different types of interactions with visual and or other types of activities for makers to create little robots, that are 3D printing machines, a bunch of other things, integrating the software with this very small computer that was very inexpensive, like around $35 US, and also very easy to work with. So this has been around for quite a while now. Well, this video purports this pair of guys who were kind of doing this in their, I want to say in their garage, just in probably look like a little house, just doing it in the back room. They're coming up with something that integrates all these LLMs that we've been seeing in news into a very, very small maker-like package, like a Raspberry Pi, allowing something with the power of ChatGPT 3.5 that was released now a couple of years ago, but still something with that kind of power to be put into a chip that's powered by something as small as a battery. So I know we're seeing a lot of this now. What are your thoughts?
This is fascinating. So it's a plug and play AI model that doesn't require the internet or a subscription. It's on a very, very small chip that stores 3 billion parameters of data. That's the same as the Apple Intelligence. And it only consumes 5 watts as well. So it's not a energy hog by any means. And they say in this video that it has essentially around 100 IQ. So this is, and Michael, you've done podcasts on AI at the edge, or automation at the edge. This is AI on edge. So this is an AI on edge solution that really could be huge to developers who are trying to bring something, to life, and they need a local model, and they really don't want to use one of the big subscription providers. They want something that's a small language model, but it's fairly self-sufficient. This is about as self-sufficient as you get, not having to be on the internet. So I loved one of the quotes on the video. One of the developers of this said, "This was not even possible 2 months ago."
Right.
So things are improving so fast that something happened and it gave them the ability to make this, this a reality. So that's pretty incredible. Now, here's the big caveat. So I checked out these two guys. I went and researched and found a link to them. I think they're with a company that's based in China. Yeah. So that raises a lot of questions. Is the U.S.
what's on that model?
Yeah, is the U.S. going to allow standalone LLMs from China to power millions of devices in the U.S.? That might get a little bit of attention from the federal government. What do you?
So I look at quite the other way. So taking it from the other perspective, we have a very low-funded team who are able to create this in their back room. If you have even a little bit of funding now, some VC backing in San Francisco, doing the same type of thing, you may have the ability to take something that's an open source model from Meta or whatnot and do something similar, where you're able to to put something even more powerful or more open source and transparent into a similar type of package. It really opens up some interesting ideas. Okay, let's just put it this way. Can you imagine your Roomba, where you could just tell your Roomba to go vacuum the kitchen because we dropped something, or it would recognize it based on some multimodal magic? Really interesting stuff comes out of that. And lots of people, I think, who are in this makers field, it helps open up their creativity of some new possibilities.
Yeah, you're right. Even if their particular product doesn't make it, over here, they've opened the door to a whole different level of innovation around how these models are managed and stored, and can be so compartmentalized. This is really fascinating. I thought the video was really, really interesting, and I'm glad you added it to the Pulse Check agenda.
Sometimes the bonuses work out, don't they? All right, well, that's all we got for this episode. Thank you for joining us today. If you haven't liked and subscribed and all that stuff, please do that now. We want to make sure we get our great content out to you as soon as it is ready. Every week we have a new guest we bring on our show to help provide you with some new insights into what's coming up in the world of enterprise AI. So with that, we'll see you next time.